Thanks for joining us today on DocTalk. This is a second installment on health certificates. It's something that's so important to the safety of our animals, important to commerce globally and around the United States. And we have an expert, Dr. Dee Ellis, who's the former state veterinarian for the state of Texas and is now a veterinarian at Texas A&M's Institute for Infectious Animal Diseases. Thanks for joining us today, and stay tuned after this message.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. Well, today we're lucky. We have a second edition with Dr. Dee Ellis from Texas A&M, where he's a veterinarian for the Institute for Infectious Animal Diseases. And the Institute has been an international leader on infectious diseases. You have quite a few people working there.
We do. We have 7 veterinarians amongst another professional staff as well. And we're part of the bigger university system, so we're lucky to work with folks from the veterinary school and the animal science department and extension components, research. So we're really part of a bigger system that's just a world-renowned expert on animal health issues, and I'm proud to be there.
Well, we're very thankful for all that y'all are doing. It's a tremendous, like all the things that Texas A&M do, they're done right, and they're an international leader. And so when we're talking about health papers, and one of the things y'all need to know is that Dr. Ellis was a practicing veterinarian. He's the former state veterinarian for the state of Texas. Sorry, it's a habit.
That's right. Okay.
And now is at the Institute, and so. But let's talk a little bit about health certificates. We're going to try to save some trees, right?
I mean, the real term is certificate of veterinary inspection, but they're usually called health certificates or health papers. And it's a throwback, it used to be a paper, and now, the trend is growing. There's more and more electronic options out there for veterinarians. And the truth is, as y'all know out there that are involved with these kinds of things, paper's hard to store, hard to retrieve, and it's all about health issues and traceability of animals if there's a disease outbreak. And so it's more important to have the data than a piece of paper. And so I'm lucky now to be part of a project with the National Pork Board and Texas A&M where we're building a new electronic health certificate system as part of a bigger disease response component. And we're encouraging the use of electronic health certificates, and they have some advantages to them, and hopefully we can talk about those just for a minute. But it's mainly, for example, what's an advantage to y'all out there? Well, you can get an email. They can email you that health paper, and if you lose it, you can just print it out again. You can give it to your truck driver or the buyer and the seller, and so it's a lot easier to have electronic.
And you can take it with you on your phone, or
you can have a smartphone, an iPad, and there's some really good companies out there that are vendors of this now, and there's Android and iOS systems available, and iPads and tablets and all those things you can have it on.
And for the veterinarian too, with an electronic system, if you're somewhere else on a call and someone calls and says, "Hey, I need a health paper on those cattle you saw yesterday," they do need a health paper. It can speed things up.
That's true. I mean, you can have, ultimately a veterinarian signs the certificate after they've examined the animals personally and make sure that the animals comply with the requirements of where they're going. But in today's world, you can have folks back at the veterinary clinic start the certificate, input things like the name and address, and then the veterinarian can take it with them, and when they look at the animal chute side, for example, they can sign it. And so that's the future for health certificates.
Right. And it's better for large groups too?
Yeah, absolutely. If you have a bunch of dairy calves on moving, you can upload a spreadsheet or CSV file, and you don't have to enter them by hand. It's a huge advantage to do that.
Well, we're going to get some technology involved, and thank goodness, because I was not very good at drawing those Coggins horses and all their socks and their markings. So now we can use a picture. But folks, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the state requirements with health certificates. Dr. Dee Ellis from Texas A&M is with us today.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
No matter where, no matter why, the Veterinary Health Center at Kansas State University is committed to providing quality patient care to animals and exceptional customer service to their owners. From routine checkups to emergency and specialty care, our world-renowned specialists and experienced professionals are here to discover, to teach, and to heal.
Let us know.
How can I help?
How can we help?
This segment brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook. Visit us online at sftmeats.com.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson here with Dr. Dee Ellis, who works as a veterinarian at the Institute for Infectious Animal Diseases at Texas A&M University, talking about health papers. And we have a list here. Y'all can't see that, but I have a cheat sheet because there's a lot of stuff on this. But Dr. Ellis, there's things that have to be on the health certificate and have to be done, and they have to be completed by a vet. What else?
Well, I think the first thing I want to say, I can't say this too often, is that creating a health certificate is a partnership venture between the owner of the animals and the veterinarian. The veterinarian doesn't have access to usually to all the information that needs to be on there. And so, for example, if you're selling an animal to a buyer in another state, your veterinarian is going to need to know their name and their address and their location. If your animals are housed at a place different than where your address is, the veterinarian is required to put both the location of the animals and your address on there as consignee and consignor. So there's when you come needing a health certificate, bring all the information with you in advance, or they're going to tell you to go back home and figure it out, and it could delay the issuance. So it's very important that this partnership be worked out from the beginning, and I always encourage the person to call their veterinarian in advance, talk to their office, and see what you need from them to move forward with it. So when you need it, it's ready for you.
So after the vet completes it, though, these things aren't good forever.
No, it's usually 30 days. And you know, there's some states, let's just say it's 30 days. There's some states that they require 30 days from the issuance, and some states require 30 days from an inspection, which is usually within a day or two of the issuance. But you can get in trouble. They're not forever, and if you think about it, this is another science-based reason for that. If you have a disease with an incubation period, it's 30 days long, and well, then it should expire. It should not be good for 6 months, because what you saw 6 months ago is not valid anymore. So always keep in mind that these will expire on you, and it's very clearly marked on the health certificate when that happens, so you can keep yourself out of hot water that way.
Yeah, and then you said, you know, the other species are ahead of the beef guys on identification, but identifying these animals is becoming more and more important.
Yes, and it's easier if you think about commercial swine and commercial poultry. They're both more integrated systems, and they move in lots. The dairy folks are starting to move in lots, but individual animal ID for food animals is a growing concern, not only for diseases, but trade and marketability and quality assurance types of things. And so animal identification is another component of this, that if there's going to be an animal ID required, whether it's a microchip in your dog or a ear tag in your cow or a tattoo of some sort, those things don't happen quickly, and so you need to know that in time. If you need to put them in the chute or take them to the veterinarian just to have that done, be prepared for that in advance.
Because some of them need a metal tag, or depending on where they're going.
And they're like everything else. The IDs they're moving towards more electronic forms of identification, but there's still good old metal ear tags out there if you want to put them in certain situations in your cattle.
And then the last thing is that we you know, not only the veterinary inspection of the animal and the health of the animal, but maybe some tests might be involved.
Tests, and they can take up to a few days to run. So again, start this process a week in advance.
All right. Well, folks, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about species differences that we see when writing health papers, whether it's a dog, a cow, a horse, whatever. We got Dr. Dee Ellis here, and we're going to use him. We'll see you after these messages.
Join us for the second annual early bird sale at Gardner Angus Ranch, Monday, January 28th at 10 a.m. Up for sale are 53 20-month-olds and 127 17-month-olds, 180 Angus bulls total, plus 200 bred commercial Angus heifers as 5 load lots. Catalog available at GardnerAngus.com. You can watch and bid online at liveauctions.tv. Don't just buy a breed, buy a brand at Gardner Angus Ranch's Early Bird Bull Sale, January 28th, Ashland, Kansas.
As fourth-generation farmers themselves, Heinen Brothers Ag Service understands the risk and rewards of farming. So when it comes to quality aerial and ground application, fertilizer, ag chemicals, and anhydrous ammonia, call Heinen Brothers Ag today, 800-760-4964.
Did you know long-range planning through the checkoff can help keep your business profitable? To successfully pass on cattle operations from one generation to the next, it's important to promote beef and keep farms and ranches profitable. Your Beef Checkoff helps do that.
I'm Tom Perrier. Our ranch is called Dale Banks Angus. Dale Banks is not a person, but it's a place. This ranch was started by my great-grandfather. He came from northwest England, and his farm there was called Dale Banks, and so he called his ranch here in the Flint Hills Dale Banks. The Beef Checkoff today has fulfilled a lot of needs that our industry had over the years. We were very involved in trying to get the Beef Checkoff passed back in the 70s and early 80s because we saw the need then, and the Beef Checkoff, I think, has fulfilled a lot of those needs.
I think some of the biggest bonuses that we've gotten from the Beef Checkoff in the last 20 years have been twofold, both in the research phase of the industry. One being the Beef Quality Assurance Program that showed us just how much money we could capture by simply doing things like moving the injection sites from the hip and rump of the animal up to the neck, where we had less high-valued cuts. That drove millions of dollars into our industry. The other thing that our beef industry did about 15 years ago was embark on new product development, things like the flat iron steak and things that used to get ground into hamburger and other low-valued cuts today are sold for a premium, and that too, just like the Beef Quality Assurance Program, has driven huge dollars into our industry that we all get to share.
Matt's the primary driver behind the operation right now, and he's the 6th generation, and his children will be the 7th generation.
I hope our kids are better at telling our beef industry's story. I think the last several years the Beef Checkoff has shown us how to do that better. They've given us some tools to do that, so we need to do a better job of telling the wonderful story that we have, and I hope our kids can continue to do that.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well in their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but yet we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecrop.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Welcome back to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson here with Dr. Dee Ellis from the Institute for Infectious Animal Diseases, where he serves as a veterinarian. He's also the former state veterinarian for the state of Texas. Big job, had a lot of responsibility, still does, and he's helping us keep our food supply chain safe, whether it's cattle or whether it's swine, many other areas of expertise. But let's talk about some of the differences in species. Obviously, people are going to go on vacation, and you mentioned that 40 out of the 50 states today have requirements for dogs and cats to come in.
They do, and it's a surprising number. I'll start by saying probably all 50 states have requirements for livestock, horses, and agricultural related species, but 40 states have some kind of requirement for dogs and cats. It depends on the use of these animals. So if you're on vacation, maybe only 25 of them do. But if you're sending a rescue group of dogs or some business-related dogs where you're selling puppies across the state line, things like that, there's an amazing number of rules and regulations for dogs, from testing requirements. And all of them are going to want rabies testing if the animals are old enough to do that, but there could be other test requirements, other certifications. Sometimes it's business validation issues that you're not moving an animal that's unhealthy or unsound in some way, and even gets to the level for dogs of microchips and official identification. And we mentioned that earlier, that even dogs, and I know a lot of y'all out there have microchips in your dogs, so they can, if they run off, someone will find them and bring them back. But for these dogs moving interstate that are in circles for commerce, not personal vacation kind of movements, most of them require microchips in those animals as well.
So microchips, but some of the common things that rabies.
I think again, and the rabies regulations are about the same for most states, but can be a little different. But basically, if you have an adult dog, you need a current rabies vaccination. And some states have specific rules and regulations about that. There's two kinds of rabies vaccinations. Some are good for 1 year, some are good for 3 years. And then the rules about how do you prove it's been vaccinated. Do you have a tag or a certificate? These are the kinds of things your veterinarian needs to check on in advance. And if you want to help, you can start to do that research. Don't get caught off guard. Most states are on the honor system for dogs and cats, but there are some states that have checkpoints at the state line, and they will stop and ask you if they see it.
What about horses?
Horses, this is probably the most common pleasure animal moving. They're really companion animals in a lot of ways. Some of them are work-related and a business, obviously, if you're a professional barrel racer. But they are almost always going to need a health certificate, and they're going to need a test for equine infectious anemia, or the slang is the Coggins test. These tests are usually good for 12 months. But in some states they're only good for 6 months, and there's a few states that have reciprocity where you don't have to have it. Say you go to Washington and Oregon, I think that's an example where they'll let you go. But horses, think about a health certificate and a Coggins test, and official identification. Even in horses, again, microchips are becoming more and more important, but you can still use photos, JPEGs, or a drawing.
What about cattle?
Cattle, trichomoniasis, TB, brucellosis, regulatory diseases. Again, depends on where the cows are coming from, where they're going to, and what kind of animals. Are they adults? Are they young? Are they dairy? Are they stockers, feeders? Are they going to slaughter? All these things complicate the issues, and again, it needs to be looked up, and you always need to check with the state of destination to be sure you get it right.
And we have different tags too that we can use to help identify those cattle, especially with TB and different
There's
things.
a number of official animal identifications for cattle. The most common are the metal tags, and now the radio frequency ID tags. Those are the two most common, and everyone's pushing towards the RFID tags at this point.
Cool. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to have kind of a fun wrap-up. Dr. Ellis talked to some of the state veterinarians, and we're going to give them a little shout-out and talk about some of the things that are their most common concerns.
Clyde Sutton, Nest City, Kansas. Lived on this place all my life. About a year and a half ago, got to where I couldn't saddle a horse. The pain was terrible. Read about stem cell. First it wasn't for me, then they started doing neck and back. Went and had it done. As you can see, I saddled a horse. I'm still building fence. Love to shoot a shotgun rifle, and I'm able to participate, not like I used to, but nevertheless I can do the things I used to do, and life is good.
Hey folks, Dr. Dan from DocTalk here. Thanks for joining me for our Cattle First tip today, sponsored by Boehringer Ingelheim Vet Medica. And we're talking about injection sites. And injection sites, all of our injections go in the neck. Here's a picture of the injection site triangle that you can see is underneath the nuchal ligament, above the vertebral column, and in front of the point of the shoulder. This injection site triangle is where we will put all of our injections for cattle. Now, if we're going to do 2 injections in that area, we put about a hand's width apart between the 2 injections. Nothing goes in the top butt, nothing in the round, nothing over the ribs. Now, if you're going to do a sub-Q injection, you go in at a 45-degree angle with a 5/8 inch or 1/2 inch needle. If you're going to do an intramuscular injection, you go in perpendicular to the calf with an 1 to 1.5 inch length needle. this is your Cattle First tip.
Hi, I'm Kim Mandarin with Hardy Insurance. I'm here to help you with all of your farm and ranch needs. When it comes to protecting your operation and your family, you need a name you can trust at a price you can afford. Call me today or visit hardyaviationins.com.
Tarwater Farm and Home is a 40-year-old local family-owned business. Clothing for work and play, seeds and feeds, boots, toys for the kids, and tools you'll need for around the house and farm. And a service department to keep them in top running order. It's a big store, so take some time to see what they have for your farm and home. Tarwater's everyday pricing is like others' sale prices. When you need it, they've got it. Tarwater Farm and Home, 4107 North Topeka Boulevard.
Healthy cows start with the new hired hand automatic livestock sprayer. Rancher invented to provide an efficient alternative to pour-on and injectable parasite management systems. The portable design allows cattle to treat themselves head to hoof. Strategic device placement with pass-through activation technology takes the stress out of parasite treatment for cattle and the rancher, leaving more time to tend to other vital tasks on the farm. To learn more, visit cowsprayer.com. The new hired hand makes healthy cows easy.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook or Twitter.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson here at Kansas State University and Dr. Dee Ellis from Texas A&M University, where he is a veterinarian for the Institute for Infectious Animal Diseases, and he's the former state veterinarian for the state of Texas. And we've talked a lot about health papers. It's been awesome. And this guy's done his homework preparing for the show. And he not only did his own outlines and things of that nature, but he has contacted other state veterinarians and said, hey, provide your input. This is something important that we want to get out there because they're an important part of the process.
That's right, and right now we're building an electronic health certificate there at Texas A&M in partnership with the National Pork Board, a product called AgView, and it's part of the pork industry's way of ensuring they can stay moving animals if there's a big outbreak. And who do they have to work with? The state veterinarians. And so the role of the state veterinarian in a health certificate is critical, whether you're in industry or you're a veterinarian, because when you get that health certificate from your veterinarian, a copy of that goes to both the state of origin and state of destination, and they review these to make sure they're accurate. So some of my friends sent in some information. I just want to read them to you, some of my state veterinarian friends. So Bill Barton, state of Idaho veterinarian, says, please always get a physical address. We need to know exactly where the animals are going in case there's a problem. Beth Thompson in Minnesota, the state veterinarian, says don't hesitate to call them and so they can help you get it right or help your veterinarian get it right. Robert Cobb in Georgia, Dr. Cobb, he's an electronic genius, and he wants all things electronic, and he likes microchips in horses, and he says please use official ID, and there's rules and regulations and they can help you with that. So Robert Stout out there in Kentucky, there's a big horse state there, and Dr. Stout says they don't like P.O. boxes for the same reason they want physical addresses. If you got a P.O. box of where they're going or where they come from, try and get a physical 911 address. Dr. Tomaso out there in New Jersey, they spend a lot of time working with rescue animals and animal sanctuaries, and they say there's special rules about that, and please learn what those are because they're different than just a dog on vacation. Dennis Hughes, the state veterinarian in Nebraska, he says, do your homework in advance. Please understand there's different requirements depending on where you're coming from. And even within the cattle industry, different kinds of cattle have different rules. Tony Frazier, my friend from Alabama, he's pushing InterstateLivestock.com as a way for you to be prepared in advance. And they also have a 24-hour line. Dusty Otico in South Dakota State Vet says, think about whose responsibility it is to get a health certificate. It doesn't matter whether the buyer gives it to you, buys it, or is handed the thing from the seller of an animal, or gets it on their own after they buy it, but that health certificate needs to be in their hands when they cross the state line. So if you're buying a horse from another person, for example, you may want the CVI as part of an owner soundness exam, but talk about who's going to get the health certificate done. Susan Keller says call the state of destination. This is one of the most important things. It's not where you live, it's where it's going that matters, and so call the state of destination.
They set the rules.
They set the rules. Dave Smith in Iowa encourages electronic health certificates. Barry Pittman in Utah, they like the latitude and longitude on those things, and that you can do that off your smartphone. And finally, the most common question, this is for me, The most common question we get is, I'm going from Oklahoma to Nebraska. Do I have to worry about Kansas's health certificate rules? No, it's only the state of destination. If you've got a valid health certificate and you're driving across another state, don't worry about it. Even if they stop you, they'll look at that and go on to Nebraska. So please, we hope these have been helpful to y'all in getting ready to move your animals interstate.
This has been an awesome experience. Once again, thank you so much, Dr. Ellis, for spending time with us and spending time with people here on DocTalk. We appreciate you watching DocTalk. If you want to know more about what we do, you can find us on the web at www.doctalktv.com. Always work with your local veterinarian. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson with Dr. Dee Ellis. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you down the road.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.